Hey everybody, Exentrick here, and today we'll be watching my gameplay video of a 25 Black Red Cold. In this party I have the 3 DPS, Feral Druid, Red Paladin, and Outlaw Rogue. And I have a Tank Demon Hunter and a Resto Shaman. In this comp I've picked up 2 Battle Reses, all the cleanses that we'll need for the Lack of Affixes, and the Lust. We start off by going right and lusting the first pack. Everything here goes smoothly, without any issues, and no deaths, surprisingly, because I've had a lot of deaths here before. But we then proceed on to this next room, where by whatever means, I'm not really exactly sure, but I end up dying to one of the ads hitting me with something. I'm not sure if it's a frontal, but that's my skill issue. You know, it happens. So anyways, we continue, we run back, we're vibing, no big deal, and we clear the rest of this pack. During this pack, I actually have my incarnation come off cooldown, and my Hekili right there tells me you should really use your cooldown, but as I see that this pack is only going to last a few more seconds, I ignore it and save it for the boss. We proceed up into the boss, and the Vengeance Demon Hunter pulls it over into the corner. Not quite as far as some tanks will do, but far enough. And I'm the first one to get these swirlies. I'm not really good at staggering these swirlies, but supposedly you can wait like a couple seconds then move, then a couple seconds then move. I usually just move like every second and a half. Oh, we also find out here that the rogue is using Spanish as their weak auras or DBM or something, which was not what I was expecting from an Area 52. But as you can see on the meters, they're playing just fine, they haven't died, and you know, no harm, no foul. During this phase, I decided that I need to use my Typhoon, my Haymaker as a Kultiran, and I attempt to use Ursuls but get no value out of it. Transitioning out of that phase, the Demon Hunter puts down their darkness, and I pop my survival instincts in hopes to live against this tyrannical 25. We didn't have any stacks, so all went well, nobody died. No issues. We then proceed to clean up the rest of the fight. From here, there's nothing really left to do. We just have to not sit in the bad, and don't get feared. At this point, I have died earlier, so I decided to use this free downtime to get my food buff back, not knowing exactly how much longer it's going to last or not. And then as soon as this door opens up, I'm going to stampeding roar us forward. While my party member there talks about missing BFA. Well, I'm just confused because early BFA, the only version of BFA I played, was just kind of utter trash. And this is why they recognized. They even agree, so I'm not really sure which BFA they missed. I'm going to guess the one at the end of BFA where they had all the corruptions and ridiculous power levels. But I don't know. Maybe I'll try it out when we get BFA Classic in about, 2030. I don't know. As far as that goes, I'm actually looking forward to Legion Classic. Legion Classic is going to be really fun, assuming it ever gets there. There's a lot of copium that we get through Warlords of Draenor. Maybe if we're lucky, Blizzard just recognizes Warlords of Draenor is just not that great, and they only give the classic version of it like 6 months, because it was literally only one season anyways. Up here we focus on the Arcanists, and we try to keep them kicked and CC'd, while also putting stops on the knife dances and the occasional arrow barrages that are actually causing problems. If the arrow barrage is going off in some other direction that doesn't matter, I tend to just let it go. We do a little bit of booping with Typhoon here to get things out of Sanguine, but that's just as I would expect. Now, as we're finishing up this pack, the Vengeance Demon Hunter is going to ask us to LOS because that's just the standard strategy. But he wants to make sure that we're all familiar with the standard expectation of how we do this room in a 25. You never know what you might run into while you're pugging, and I don't blame them. Now we're coming up on the second boss. And my hope for the second boss is that we all have the idea of go left with the charge. Because, you know, sometimes you get to the second boss and somebody wants to go left, somebody wants to go right, and somebody wants to be just somewhere else entirely. And then half the floor is green, and that just makes the fight less fun. Especially if they drag it across the front so that melee can't DPS the boss during the intermission. However, I use pings and start pinging the left side of the room there, next to that gate, as soon as even before the mechanic goes out, indicating that's where I want to be standing. Here, we all rotate our interrupts on the Arcanist while burning it down fast. It's really the only thing that can threaten here. The other one has a frontal that occasionally goes off, but it's so well telegraphed and takes so long to charge that no one ever really even worries about it. After that, this boss is literally just tank and spank. I'm not actually sure what's going on. Occasionally my healer he just drops really hard, sometimes the rogue, but nobody ever dies, and, you know, maybe if this is a couple key levels higher, I would have to learn what this boss is doing right here. But I think it's really just don't die, and you win. If we take a moment and we look at the meters, we'll notice that Feral Druid is not doing that great overall. Well, that's just because that's what Feral Druid is like right now. Unfortunately, we're about 20% under the damage of the classes that you would typically take as your meta. There's a lot of hope in the Feral Druid community that we will have some form of buff coming in the way of either a rip buff or tear open wounds, which is our talent that makes it so that our spamming of Primal Wrath, which was primarily just applying rip, now also has more burst damage components to it. Or more direct damage, depending on how you want to view it, because a burst is still, I don't know, a bit of a stretch. Feral Druid does not have burst AoE, and they probably never will, as part of the design of the spec itself. Up here, we rotate stops pretty well, and we actually don't end up ever dealing with really big or problematic worm tongues, which is amazing, because I've seen these things just insta-get people with bowl over quite a few times. Though it is a tyrannical week, and 4 to 5 weeks are the ones that usually becomes an issue. But we never actually run into that, and we finish off this pack just nicely. I hold my trinket here for the next pack because I figure that it'll get more value if there's more targets than one. Coming up here, we have the Watch for Falling Rocks. You can actually skip this and do it in half an A press with quadruple parallel universes. There's a video on that about YouTube if you want to watch. Oh, and the rogue just kind of dies. He tries to zoom ahead a little bit too fast, flies a little too close to the sun, you know, Icarus things. But it's okay, because everyone else makes it through and he can get rise to the top. As you'll see on my healing frames there, the rogue now is missing his verse buff. I was gonna remember to do that, but I had my cooldowns up at this, and during this fight, and was focused on trying to get my interrupts out and just maximizing my damage output during this phase of the gauntlet. Because this gauntlet right here really is where you can pad on the meters. It doesn't really do much to kill more bats, but it makes you feel better if you do more damage. So, we get through this entire gauntlet, killing all, I believe, 4 of these guys that we have to interrupt in a short stagger. And I yet have still to remember to buff the rogue. So as soon as we drop combat up here, you'll see the rogue's icon turn black again. And you know, maybe just this time, we'll remember. And we start the boss. But I go down and click the Mark of the Wild, so it's fine. And we have our trinket and we have our cooldowns. We are ready to blast this boss. After taking that first hit, I realized that these knockbacks are going to hit quite hard, and if I'm not topped up, I will in fact die, because I am going down to like 20% HP. I tank this first charge with my big defensive survival instincts, and then I flip into bear form. You'll see me flip into bear form a few times during this fight, because I'm just afraid this knockback is going to actually one-shot me if I'm not at full HP. We start off with the all of the green lines going straight through the middle of the room, which is really what you want to see on this boss. It's ideal, actually. Don't ask me why or how, because I couldn't explain it. But that's where we put them, so that's where, you know, you just have to deal with the hands you're dealt. At this point, we've all rotated through soaking the charge at least once, but as I do not have the survival instincts back up, I'm weary to try again. But, that being said, with him focusing somebody who has the debuff, I attempt to go bear form and block it just in case, but somebody else is actually sitting directly under the boss, which I didn't notice at the time. Now here's the rooms that I usually just, people die randomly, it happens, because those charges just kind of go off, they get covered by a rug in the next room, upstairs, and you know, it just is how it is. But, surprisingly, none of that actually happens. We have enough stops, knocks, and dodging capabilities that the issues never arise that we have people die from these, what are they even called? What's this skill called? I don't know. We'll see it soon. Oh, like something dive, Raven dive or something. Yeah, that skill. My favorite part is how it ends up under this rug, really. Raven's dive is truly a miraculous skill. But luckily, it can be stopped, interrupted, and otherwise disrupted. Because otherwise, I don't know, it would just be not fun. As we get into this boss, the healer says, in all caps, nuke ads, which hasn't ever really been an issue before 25, but as I progressed up in key level, especially on Tyrannical, I will have to agree with the healer's statements. Those ads hurt a lot. I actually nearly die, but I don't. Now we're in the hard part of the fight, supposedly, which is surviving Shadow Ball Volley. I pop my survival instincts and hop in darkness, and as you'll see, I was the only one that was hit. Feel free to scroll back and watch that again. But that's just the luck of the draw. You can't have everyone dodge on a 20%. During these phases, I opt to go bear form and get my HP back with Frenzied Regeneration, because nothing else to do anyways. I attempt to focus down these things, but I do not have great focus damage outside of a few bites here and there. I also have this sleep spawn directly on top of me, and it manages to catch me off guard. And I do go to sleep for a second, but we get out of it. Nothing worse happens. Stinging Swarm on me. I park Barkskin there, and I still get down to 20% HP before it dies. I was one tick away from dead, and I even popped my HP potion to keep alive. So yeah. Nuke ads, because they are actually quite scary on Tyrannical. This is the last time we'll be running around. We have the boss at about 10%. So, here we are with 10 seconds before our +2 left on the clock, and we finish with 6 seconds. Thanks for watching, and like and comment the video if you have any questions.